My name is Ioannis Ioannou. I am an associate professor of strategy and entrepreneurship at the London Business School, and my work and research focuses on understanding the integration of environmental, social, and governance or broader sustainability issues into the way a business conduct operations. It's very important to understand that no two crises are going to be the same. Of course, there are learnings that we can extract from the Great Recession, but certainly the COVID-19 crisis, it's very different. It's the virus that's causing it. And unlike the Great Recession, in the current crisis of COVID-19, we see more quick action, more substantive action. And in fact, if you see the stimulus packages around the world, whether we talk about the US package, whether we talk about what the European Union is doing and so on, you will see that more or less are moving in the same direction. And that direction tells us that it's all about liquidity. So in the current crisis, unlike the Great Recession, I think we have a higher degree of trust in the system because the crisis was not caused by the system, and therefore institutions can be much more effective. That's why we see a lot of funds going into SMEs and help going to large companies. Now, those are important differences in terms of understanding the corporate reaction, but I would also highlight one more, which is an important one, is that in the current crisis, in the COVID-19 crisis, the world is watching when it comes to corporate responses. The degree of transparency and accountability that exists in the current crisis did not exist back into the Great Recession. The basic idea there is that in the middle of the crisis, companies have two choices. Either to save, in other words, entrench their way out of a recession, or to invest their way out of a recession. And there are reasons to do both. So what is it that companies in the US did during the Great Recession? Companies both saved and invested their way out of a crisis. So on the savings side, what companies did was to cut investments in tangible assets. So you can think about this building, plants and equipment and so on. In other words, to maintain their two critical intangible resources. Those were stakeholder relationships and their innovation capability. You cannot choose what to do, for instance, only with buildings, only with employees, or only with suppliers in isolation, but really companies need to take a step back and consider what are my strategic assets, what's the foundation of my business model, and how do I make those strategic adjustments in terms of saving or investing so as to maintain survival, but also competitiveness. So if we were to consider the current crisis, we have seen huge implications, right? People going a lot more digital, working from home, reducing their commute, realizing that perhaps they had too many meetings before. Consumption patterns have definitely been impacted. So companies, in addition to thinking on the medium and the long term, the medium and the short term, they should also keep in mind how these preferences, how these relationships are going to look like in a post-crisis world, and start thinking what sort of investments could I make today so I adjust, so I adapt, and therefore I'm a better fit from that changed world that's going to appear after the crisis is over.